YouTubers and subscribers, RoseRed17 here, and if you have read the title, and you must already know that this is the review for Eden Zero Volume 2, Chapters 5 through 14. Now I'm going to skip the whole introduction and get right to the story. But before we move forward, don't forget to check my review of Volume 1. With that said, let's get down to it. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Spoilers! Okay, now we can move on. The first page of Chapter 5, we get the introduction to a woman named Ziramani, who is the narrator of the story and clearly and literally tells the viewer what happened in the last chapter. The next page, we get a little chibi design of our characters repeating the previous chapter from the first volume. Then after that, we get the plot at hand. Okay, we can easily skip the first 7 pages of the chapter because there's nothing but talking, misunderstanding, they get attacked, and then Waze gets away. The reason I wanted to skip these pages was because I wanted to get into the fun and interesting part of the chapter. You see, Rebecca knows that the man she witnessed has the same similarity to the Professor Waze that she knows. She shows the picture of the man who turns out to be much older. But as the pages go on, they make a shocking discovery. It turns out that they somehow travel back in time 50 years ago, and the man they saw was the Professor in that timeline. Okay, I know it's not that shocking to a viewer who knows about the sci-fi anime world, as there is a time-traveling scheme plot somewhere in this type of category. Now, at first glance, you think that the main lead trying to figure out how and why they travel back in time, and how they get back into their own timeline. But then, trouble comes along and it turns out that the younger Waze was actually a thief, and the chapter ends there. The next chapter, we have a little fight scenes between Shiki and a giant robot that is operated by a thug named Sybil, who is out to get Waze for stealing something that belongs to him. Well, as for this battle, or I shouldn't even call it that because they end up running away at first, but then Sybil catch up to them, then Shiki one-shot the robot and it blows up. Rebecca and Shiki ends up finding younger Waze, coincidentally, as Rebecca explains that they're on the same side by telling him that they're from the future, and Waze doesn't believe her. Okay, if you tell anyone that you're from the future without any proof, they're gonna believe you're a nutcase. But what Waze does believe is that Shiki and Rebecca are not his enemies. But then at the end of the chapter, introduce a little robot named EMP Pino. Pino is an anti-bot android with the EPP power system that can shut down anything electronic. And if you remember your lessons from science class, you should know what EMP stands for. Unless you're living on a rock and have no knowledge of science world, then Rebecca here will tell you that EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse. Now in this chapter, we get a sad backstory of Pino and her master who turns out to be the scumbag Sybil. The scene didn't make me cry or anything, but I still felt sorry for the little android. I know robots are not supposed to have any feelings of their own will, but can't help but feel bad for them. Pino was treated no different than a slave and used as a tool. If this was anime, I probably would have shed tears for Pino because if it added sad soundtracks to the scene, it might work, and you'll feel more sorry for her. Not only did her master rip her leg off, but erased her memories of her previous master before Sybil. And here we get Shiki's pissed off expression and get ready to save his new friend. The last panel of the chapter, we get Waze spying on Sybil's gang that has called themselves the Foot Brothers? What? Really? Going to end the chapter with that dialogue? Next chapter showing Rebecca and Shiki driving in the streets to rescue Pino, and just love the little comedy going on here. Happy asks Rebecca about her plan and she says that Shiki will take them down and will do whatever they can to help, and Happy's expression is just so original. In the next panel, Pino returns to her master, having a misunderstanding of her running away, when in truth she was kidnapped by Waze. His expression here is proof and feels guilty. Sybil does not believe her and was ready to take off her other leg until she was saved by Waze, only to claim was rightfully his and willing to make money off of Pino. Okay dude, don't be a dick. Shiki and Rebecca crash into the enemy's hideout. Shiki activates his ether gear, taking out his foes, and then Waze steals a vehicle and takes off with Pino and accidentally kidnaps Happy. Seriously, stop being such a dick. While Waze takes off with the 2 mascots of the series, Sybil drops a heavy item on Shiki and Rebecca, causing the female to be saved by the male protagonist and then left with 2 thugs. Who are the weirdest thugs that are called themselves the Footsie Brothers? Yeah, I'm going to forget about these characters after the chapter, so I'm just going to skip to the next panel. It shows Waze driving off and Pino explains to Waze and Happy that she has a job to do or else everybody will, and then ended the dialogue with Shiki finding himself underground and ends up finding something familiar, or more like someone. Shiki found his old friend Michael from his home planet Granville, but realized that this is the Michael from 50 years ago along with other robots that are similar. He started having flashbacks of his robot friends while trying to fix the one robot who tells Shiki what a nice human he is, and saying those last words, "I am glad the last human I met was someone like you." Oh god, I am feeling so much guilt towards these machines. First Pino, and now this thing named Johnny? I should give more respect to these robots. So in the next panel after where it left off, with Pino explaining about getting her job done, but got interrupted by Sybil who tries to blow them up. Next, we get a fight between Rebecca and the Foot brothers, but then the brothers get distracted by Rebecca's legs, saying she has fine legs. Rebecca, please take that gun and shoot them down. Thank you. Oh crap, they didn't fly bullets. And then, what is with these guys and legs? This is creepy. Anyway, it looks like it's over for Rebecca until something popped from under the ground. You can guess who it is. Shiki fought out the brothers and asked where Pino and Sybil are, and then chased after them, leaving Rebecca with the creepy Foot brothers wanting her legs. Girl, I have pity for you right now. The chapter moves on to Sybil ready to kill Waze, Pino, and Happy, only to be saved by Shiki. Then the battle between the two begins, only to the chapter in a punch. The next chapter is a continuation battle between Shiki and Sybil. Pretty much 1/3 of the chapter is on board with it. And during the fight, Shiki is describing how robots have feelings and do possess a heart. After Sybil gets knocked to the ground, the machine behind him grabs Shiki and about to self-destruct, and then Pino saves Shiki by activating her EMP, therefore shutting off the robot system. You go, Pino. Sybil is now defeated with the gun pointing at his head, only to be spared by Waze saying that the gun is useless and instead clobbers Sybil in the face. And then we get the touching moment of Pino and Shiki. Later, it was discovered that Sybil and his gang was going to use Pino to steal military supplies and trick Pino into thinking that she was saving other androids from bullying. The gang gets arrested, and then Happy remembered Pino coming from the same timeline as him, Shiki, and Rebecca. But Pino has no memories of who created him, but Rebecca got an idea that it was the Waves from the future. Pino asked them to take her with him. They agree, and then we get the cops come to arrest Shiki's group because they don't have civilian IDs, or so Rebecca thought, because they were just after Waves. Shiki, Rebecca, Happy, and Pino made it back to their ship and started to take off, only to discover that the cops are right after them, and they can't seem to shake them off even though their ship is more high-tech as it is from the future. Then they get an uninvited guest on board, Waze, as his means to escape and plan on helping him get into space. Ooh, look, next chapter we get a color panel from the previous chapter, and then another color page of chapter 11, Machina Maker. Waze suggests that he can fix the problem to the ship, but Rebecca has her doubts and doesn't trust him. But Waze tells her that he can handle police since he does have an ID, so he gives them two options, either get arrested or give him the ship. Pino tells everyone that the police are getting closer, and Shiki told Waze that the ship is his and remind Becca that they need a better one to find Mother. Waze takes the wheel, and to Rebecca and Shiki's surprise, Waze possesses the ether gear that can rebuild machines, therefore give him the ship an upgrade. This ether gear is called Machina Maker. He can fix any machine. He even fixed Pino's leg as a favor. The group flies off into space when they get a call and revealing the professor from their timeline. And this is where things get interesting. You see, in the beginning of the volume, we readers of the manga suggest that Shiki and Rebecca managed to somehow travel back in time, but that wasn't the case. It turns out that the planet Norma had its time stolen from a space creature called the Coronaphage, and the professor explained that once time was stolen from the planet, it was irreversible. But there is more. While visiting Norma in the past, it wouldn't affect the time paradox, so whatever Shiki's group did in that particular timeline wouldn't change history. Therefore, the Waves from the past is the Waves from the present that had his times taken away by the Coronaphage. Well, this is new. I have to give Hiramashima some credit for coming up with an idea like this. Instead of traveling back into the past, that is the most common cliche in the sci-fi universe, time was literally stolen by some kind of space creature. So, per point for this idea. And there is more. It turns out that Pino's true master turns out to be Shiki's grandfather, the Great Demon King. As said, the professor who managed to only fix up Pino. But as he was about to say more, the signal gets jammed by space pirates and ends up getting captured by Elsie. Thus, in the next chapter, the crew is pulled by the bigger ship's gravity force, and there we see Elsie on the big screen, who is the captain of her crew, known as the Skull Fairy. Nice title for a pirate cruise. Okay, there isn't much to say about this chapter besides the conversation between Elsie and Shiki's group, until he plans to plunder the ship and take it as his own. Elsie agrees to give him the ship, but only until Shiki defeats her in battle. He runs out to find her, but then realizes that the ship has been compromised by giant parasitic tentacles, which is gross by the way. But Shiki defeats the tentacles with a smile on his face, and then... Oh, hell no, Mashima. You are not making this Space Girl and your new fan service pawn. It was bad enough that you made your well-developed character from your previous work into your poster girl. But now I get this? Thank God he made this character into a badass with those guns and frees herself from the tentacles. But still, really? Really? Okay, I need to calm down. I still have a review to do. Okay, so after Rebecca freed herself and messed around with waves because of what he did to her earlier, the next panel shows Shiki running towards a door. There he finds Elsie. Or so he thought. It turns out to be an alien with a skull face. I see why her crew was named the Skull Fairy. But in the next chapter, we get a battle between Shiki and Elsie, which is pretty epic. And that transformation of Shiki, holy can't wait to see this animated, which I heard that the series gonna get one, by the way, so I'm so excited. So this chapter introduced to another character known as Justice. Thank God it's not Jalal. He is honestly only there to monitor the fight in the chapter. Not to mention that Elsie kept bringing up Ziki, the Demon King. I wonder if there's a connection. The final chapter of the volume, Shiki defeats Elsie, but only to discover that she was a fake and that the real one was on a completely different ship. And to the group's surprise, she planned on giving Shiki that ship they're on. It turns out it's one of the ship that belongs to Ziki. She explained to them that the Demon King once searched the Sakura Cosmos to find Mother, but instead he found Shiki. Okay, we're getting somewhere here. And also Elsie has a load of space pirate ships. Talk about pirate princess, she has a whole damn fleet. Sorry, got sidetracked. Anyway, Justice shows up with his crew and Elsie plans to distract him while Shiki and his group gets away. But before that, Elsie gives out one last piece of information, and it's about Mother and her rebirth and godlike abilities. So whoever reaches Mother, they say they will be reborn. Yeah, and I think I remember back in the last volume, Shiki saying that he has seen Mother before, and I am seeing a pattern here, but I don't want to confirm anything yet without proof, so I'll leave it at that for now. So anyway, Wade starts up the engine and it gets the ship out, leaving Elsie and Justice to their big fight, I guess. This chapter ends with Shiki and the crew heading back to Blue Garden, and then reveals a woman who seemed to be inside the ship, and to be continued. Well, I have to say, another good read, and information about the goddess being known as Mother has the power to make people reborn. I don't quite get how that works. I mean, does she kill them, then bring them back to life, or they die during the journey of finding her? I don't know. It is a mystery that I will solve during the series. Overall, this manga keeps you guessing as the adventure goes on for our heroes, and the story just keeps getting better. Hiro Mashima has done a great job with the story. It seems like he's putting all into this manga, even though he's working on the other manga with Ashuda. I believe he has given Eden Zero a series that we will never forget. Thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to leave a comment about your thoughts of Eden Zero, and hit that subscribe button for this channel, and I'll see you all in the next video. Rose Red 17 out.